So if you're someone currently building with AI, or maybe you're just following AI news, you're probably gonna see this term MCP, and you're gonna see some probably pretty interesting things from people building things in Blender with voice to building games with Unity and Unreal. And I want to give my opinions on this and my experiences with so far with MCPs. I also wanted to break down a little bit. There's a lot of technical jargon related to this. And I want to explain very clearly that there really isn't much new going on with MCPs. It's really a very simple idea if you're a dev, but for a non-dev, you might think that this is a new tech that's like this is like the thing that's advancing what we can do with AIs. But the reality is that some of that is like marketing and kind of engagement stuff. So, but if you're if you're someone like, let's say you're a non-dev and you're reading about it, you're probably going to come away with this takeaway, right? That it's a controller for AI to do things, whether that's from ordering a pizza to doing stuff in Blender. And you're gonna think that this part is really important, this controller. And if you're a dev, you're just gonna see it. Okay, it's just a protocol to have the LLM call some API that already exists, or DB or resource. But the LLM kind of like figures out which one to call. Um, and so I want to make clear for like any non-devs watching this that this is really not the interesting part of the technology here, because this protocol is just a very simple client server that's calling something that already exists, right? Everything that you do online, from going on a website, you're already using things that the hard parts of these things, which is the APIs, they're already created. The only thing MCP is doing is it's just starting up a kind of automating this process. Like if you're a dev, the equivalent to an MCP is essentially querying, cloud or whatever, some AI model, to give me code that queries this API to do this thing that you want to do, right? And then it will the AI model is going to give you back some code, and then as you as a developer, you just run that code and you get back the response. All MCP is doing, just automating that process there. So instead of you saying give me code that queries and then you plugging in the code, you have a client server that's already doing that. So you just tell the host, hey, I want to do this thing, and it calls for you. So you don't need to plug in the code. But this is a really simple automation, right? This is really not the interesting part of you know um, of what we're doing here. So I want to explain like what is the interesting part, because there is an interesting part. There is a lot of pieces of software like Blender, Unity, Unreal, who are now going to expose things that they might not have otherwise exposed, because humans probably wouldn't need an API to do certain things with the program. Like, you know, they already actually Blender does, but not every program has such expansive API. So, but now with AI, Blender and these teams are going to probably expand it to be very wide so that way the AI can interact with it and do more things. However, I am a little bit pessimistic on MCPs, my experience, but also I think in the future, there's just not a lot of training data for a while. I think maybe a couple of years from now, maybe there'll be a lot more training data to interact with these APIs. But right now, they can't really do a whole lot. So here are my experiences. I used Blender MCP, browser tools, MCP. I used the Godot MCP. The browser tools MCP, the problem with that one is that the time that it takes, not only does it use your precious, your precious credits, but it also it takes longer to use it than it is to just do it yourself. So just copy the logs there from the browser. And it's not like a complex thing. You're just copy pasting over. It takes longer to do that through the MCP than it does to just do it yourself. With the Blender MCP, it couldn't create a water bottle or simple shapes. And I did ask it to do many simple shapes, and it could do rocks, like kind of a jagged shape, but that was about it. Um, and the Godot MCP, I couldn't create anything beyond plane and camera. So why am I saying this? I'm essentially saying this, you know, if you're someone who's used the MCP tools and you're like, I can't really accomplish much, you're not alone. But with, like, for example, Godot, just modifying the files themselves, I was able to do something really cool within like 4 hours. Um, I would say that right now, MCPs are not in a place that at least out of all the ones I've tried, feel free to leave some in the description if open to changing my mind if there's some cool ones. But out of all the ones I tried, there wasn't really any that saved me time or did anything that was that interesting. Um, I think it's related to two separate things. For one, a lot of these probably don't expose a lot of useful operations yet to the AI potentially, or maybe there's not enough training data. To be honest, I'm not really sure. It can't really accomplish a whole lot. But those were my experiences. But to summarize, basically what I wanted to communicate in this video is that I think that MCP, the term itself, is being used as kind of like an engagement kind of marketing thing. It's really not. If you're a non-dev, it's really not super interesting. We already have APIs. AIs can already interact with a lot of APIs. And then if you're a dev, I hope maybe that this is a really simple explanation that you're able to, digestible form. When you watch online, there's a lot of also marketing stuff where like you're like, wait, is this really that interesting? It's like, no, you can just do it yourself real quick. Just ask AI, get the code, and then run it yourself. Um, and some people argue as a security thing, it just adds a new attack vector. Like I don't, I personally I think okay, it makes sense. Like automated, automate maybe a bit, and maybe in the future. Once Blender and some maybe closed source things like Unity and Unreal build out their APIs specifically for AIs, maybe this becomes very useful. This whole process here, but as of right now, I think that it's still very new, and I don't think the term itself means a whole lot. That's like the actual protocol is not that interesting. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope that this was interesting, and I'll maybe make a lot more videos like this. So.